Hi, everyone. This is Shannon Torrance, and you're listening to or watching Magic is Real. In this conversation, I speak with the lovely Maria Concha, otherwise known as the Manifesting Ninja. As a manifesting coach, Maria blends practical techniques with woo-woo spiritual ones, working with other women to empower them to achieve abundance in all areas of their lives by shining a light on where they may be holding on to limited beliefs and stories that no longer serve them. She encourages and guides them to think bigger, expect more than just enough, and to live the balanced and fulfilling life of their dreams. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you so much, and here's my interview with Maria Concha. Thank you so much for tuning in to Magic is Real. This is Shannon Torrance. I'm sitting right here. And with me today is the beautiful Maria Concha. She is a manifesting coach for high achieving women, I think you said, or something of that nature. I may have introduced that wrong. But um, the reason that I have Maria on today is because while I believe that there is an element of manifesting that is based in very earthly things, and I think it has a lot to do with your focus, moving towards your ambitions, taking forward momentum, and that sort of thing. I believe that there's also a spiritual aspect to it, and I know that Maria does too. So I'm a big manifester myself, and I'm really honored to have Maria with us today. How are you today, Maria?
So well. I'm so relaxed. You have no idea.
I love it. I am so happy because I am too, and this feels great. So, Maria, I'd like you to actually explain what it is that you do.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
So, I am a mindset and manifestation coach for women, like you mentioned. And what I do is I merge both practical science behind manifestation and the spiritual, the woo woo side of things, because I think that they both really together create that ease and flow that we crave, because who the heck wants to struggle when they're trying to accomplish or manifest something? And so I found in like my experience with myself and my clients that when we merge them both, it just becomes so juicy and fun to set these goals, like claim these massive goals, and then just allow yourself to surrender and allow yourself to receive them. So I do that. I work with women, and we work around goals and manifesting and attracting this with both elements.
So beautifully said. I wanted you to do that because I think you can say it better. So, the first thing I want to know is I'd love to know about you, where you come from, what your background is, and I'd love to hear uh, several things. One is what your background and maybe your upbringing was around spirituality, religion, what your attitudes may have been, and also then what led you into this specific field.
All right. So growing up, I grew up with in a Catholic family. My mother, she raised us this way. However, when I say raised us, I just mean she just labeled us this. My mother was not in church on Sundays or in church in general. I think the only time we did any of that was like Ash Wednesday, where she was like, "You got to go get your ashes." It was just that was it. But so I grew up just thinking, I'm Catholic, and I didn't know much about the religion except that that's just what we were. And so I wasn't very religious. I didn't really follow much. I just honestly, my morals and values were just instilled in me as a child, and it wasn't related to any kind of religion. It wasn't attached to anything. And so I didn't grow up, really following anything except just the morals and values and being a good, decent freaking human being. And so as I got older, I look back now and I think, where did this come from? And I didn't realize till I was older that my mother was extremely spiritual. And at the time, I recall her going into like these I get like these woo woo type of shops, and I thought they were so strange because I would see the candles, the incense, and all these different types of crystals. And at the time, I just thought it was really strange. And I was just like, "Ma, what are we doing in here?" She never explained what it was. She just went about her business. And she had all these rituals that she would do. And as an adult, I still don't know what it was, because we never really got to talk about it. But I know that my mother is a believer in just something more than her. So I kind of fell into it because I picked up the book, The Law of Attraction. I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and I noticed. I also noticed on my journey that uh, a lot, like the common denominator between all these successful people that I aspired to be, my version of that, I noticed that it was their outlook and perspective on life and their mindset and how they perceived it. And a lot of, I started to just take on a lot of what I felt that, resonated with me. And so the upbringing was I was born and raised Catholic. And then as I got older, I came across um couple of books, one Law of Attraction, also the what's that other book?
The
Um
Secret?
no, actually, you know what? I heard about it. I remember being in, I think, high school, and like, but it just it didn't really catch my attention enough to watch the movie. I believe there's a movie, or read the book. I don't know why. I guess I wasn't ready for it at the
Yeah.
time, right? And so as I got older, I went through a lot of hardships. As a kid, I went through a lot of hardships, but as I got older, I was able to control my reaction, learn more about it, and understand, more in depth. And so I started to just really look into ways to cope and deal with trauma, childhood trauma, and everything that was going on, like death. And I guess you start when you start to experience these hardships, this pain. For me, I needed an outlet. And so I came across Many Lives, Many Masters, which was it's probably one of the most impactful spiritual books I have ever come across. Have you heard of it?
I have, yes.
Okay.
And I think I've read part of it. I don't remember it well enough, but yes, I'm familiar with it, and yet I don't remember it.
Yeah. So it was just such a that book was for me, it was a breakthrough moment. It felt very familiar, and that really put me on the journey where I am now, of spirituality, and just manifesting, and not just manifesting on my own. Not I consider myself a conscious manifester, but also I always say, we have the opportunity, the blessing to reach for external guidance, right? Maybe
Yeah.
that's your guides, your God, whatever it is you believe in, spirit, it's to each his own, whatever you feel calls you. So that book really strengthened that, like, external guidance for me, like my team of angels, guides, universe, that are just always with me, guiding me to manifest. So I didn't grow up. I guess
Yeah.
I didn't grow up this way, but in a way was sort of, I was exposed to it not knowing.
Right. And what would you say, just in case I'm sure anyone watching this probably already knows about manifestation, but how do you describe it to people who don't know what manifestation really means?
I think to manifest is, well, first off, I believe we're manifesting all day long,
Mm.
whether we know it or we don't. Our thoughts are very real. Our thoughts are charged with emotions, and it gives off a vibration, and everything is a vibration. So you're matching some kind of vibration. So if you're in a vibration that's of fear and ego and lack and scarcity, then you're just matching more of that. If you're in a vibration of love, faith, and joy, and that space, then you're going to attract more of that. And so I think that you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. I think our thoughts are extremely powerful. I know that and for anyone listening, watching, there's a huge correlation between what you have in your reality now and what you think about. And when you start to connect those together, your thoughts, what you think about, and what you have in your external world, it's really powerful, because you start to see how tangible it could be. And so I think that manifestation is something we're doing all day long. We're either creating by default, or we're being conscious about what we're creating.
I agree with you, and I love the way that you explained that. I
would love to hear, and I know that abundance is not just about money at all. Abundance is healthy relationships, it's joy, and I don't wanna say joy like we always have to be happy. I think just
Mm,
contentment, because we're human, we will feel a variety of emotions, but I think it's really just having a healthy balance in our lives and processing our feelings in healthy ways. It's not having a job for the sake of money, but just having money to take care of ourselves, but it's also having a purpose if we're fortunate enough, I have so many questions. I'm falling all over myself with thoughts. Um, so I know that abundance isn't just money, but I think for a
mhm,
lot of people, myself included, and I've never talked about this before, kind of come from a fear of lack place.
mhm.
And I witnessed firsthand how just for years and years and years, I was just constantly in lack, constantly struggling with money. Um, and it is something that consistently comes back to haunt me just when I'm like, and now there's money. Oh, now there's not money. And so I'd love to hear sort of what I know that on your web, or it might have been on one of your YouTube videos or your website. I read when you said you used to come from that sort of mindset. I forget the term you used,
Mhm.
but it was cute. It was funny. Uh, I'd love to hear what your
Oh,
relationship
struggle
with
city.
Struggle City. I'd love to hear what your relationship with abundance was versus what it is now.
Yes, Shannon. So I just have to say my upbringing real quick is I grew up with a single mom who struggled a lot on welfare. We were all, on welfare. And my dad was in jail at a very young age. And so my mom was like left to fend for herself with three kids. And it was really difficult for her. She did not know how to cope and she was in a depression. And so struggling is what I saw. It was my norm. And so when I got older, I remember I was working at this dermatology, like a prestigious dermatology office, and I would talk to different types of the patients and the clients that would come in and out. And I remember that just thinking like, wow, they have such fascinating lives, and and also shit, they make a lot of money because they're here spending so much. I worked there for so long. I worked there for about 6 years. And so I knew them I actually knew some of them very well. And so I got to know them, more than just them coming in and out. I had to because I saw them spending like 5 to 10 grand on a visit. And I thought, what do you do? Right. I grew up where like you sold drugs to
Yeah.
like have that amount of money. And I didn't know I didn't know anyone else who had a career that you could just like spend that much money. And so I was picking brains because at the time that's all I could do. I was fascinated. And so I realized that whether it's money or a beautiful relationship, love of your life, whether it's a beautiful home, whether it's a dope car, it's whatever it is you desire, you know, if you want it to thrive like anything else, you have to have a healthy relationship with it. You have to. So the first question um I always get, how can I manifest more money? How can I attract more money? That's like one of the biggest questions, right? That I get. And I always say, well, before you ask that question, why don't you ask yourself, what is my relationship to money? And so I grew up in a lack, scarcity, struggle mindset, right? Struggling my ass off, really working multiple jobs. I had over 20 plus jobs before I was like 22 and just making ends meet. It was very scary for, a young girl that I looked like I was 12 when I was 20. And I was taking trains at all odd hours. It was just horrid. And so when I worked at this job, I had a lot more stability. I actually manifested the job. That was when I realized the power because I said I want an opportunity where I could work only 3 days a week. I want health insurance and I want to be able to have freedom to like my schedule to be flexible. And I want to make like $25 an hour up. And that was about 10 years ago. And I literally got everything that I said. It was just wild. It was unknown at the time to even do something like that. Anyhow, So from that moment on, I started to learn about my relationship with money. I started to learn about my relationship with everything in my life that I desired and why I didn't have it. And I explored the gap from where I was broke as shit to where I wanted to be abundant and thriving. And so what I did is I uncovered so much of those beliefs that I subscribed to, really, because when we're young, yes, we are taught so many things. We're subjected to so much without much control because we're five. Where are we going to go? We're going to pack our things and, or also we look up to these people. These are the people we trust. These are the people that take care of us. So we think that they know best. And so we don't have control at the time when we're young, but when we're older, it's our responsibility to really challenge these beliefs that don't serve us. Some of us are walking around, most of us are walking around not even realizing that there are beliefs that don't serve us. They think this is a way of life. And it's really unfortunate because this is when, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years go by and you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I did not live the life that was fulfilled. How did time just fly? And so exploring these beliefs and challenging them really changed everything for me. And I just so you know, this vocabulary I did not have of like subconscious mind, reprogramming, and exploring beliefs. None of this I didn't have. I didn't understand this. Well, it's not that I didn't understand, I just wasn't exposed to it. And so I invested so much of my time, energy, money in learning everything I could to master my mindset. And really that's what's shifted everything, especially with abundance. And like you said, abundance is not just with money. It's not just like an abundance of money. It's like it could be so much. It's like love, it's like joy, it's like health, it's so much bigger. It's like it's like your spirituality. It's like just it's so much. Right now it's such a trendy word, abundance, right? And it really, it's like your relationship, and everything is a story that you're telling yourself, and you have to think about, is this story serving the life that I want to live? Is this story serving the person I want to become? Does this story align with the very things I wish to see? Because if it goes against what you wish to see, then they're going to miss each other. For example, if on one hand you say, I want a shit ton of money, but on the other hand, you're like, oh, I'm never going to have money. I'm in debt. Oh, I keep having all these different jobs. Money just goes. If you're affirming, because that's what we're doing all day long, we're affirming things all day long. We're affirming, affirming, affirming. So if they do not align, then they're going to miss each other. You're not matching the vibration, the frequency of this, what you desire. So the universe is like, okay, cool. If you think that you're just in debt and that's what life is going to be and woe is me, then cool, we'll give you more of that. Universe is not, it's not judging you. It's not telling you, hey, Shannon, don't think that because you're going to get more of that. No, it's like, all right, cool. You're putting that out there. You're going to get more of that. So I started to focus my attention, my energy, everything I could on what I wanted to see in my reality. I said, let me give this a try. Let me think about, what do I wish to see? And then any belief that I had that was unhealthy about money, I thought, you know what? Let me reprogram that. Let me create new beliefs around it. Let me create new stories about it. Let me claim and be the one to decide how my life gets to be for me. No one else gets to decide that but me. And I went down that route, and it was just transformational.
That's so cool, and I've seen it in my own life too, that when I was in a place of lack, I everything fell apart. It was like I had unhealthy relationships, I had, eating disorder stuff going on, it was like nothing worked, everything was a mess, and then it became a spiral. And I know it may sound trite to some people, but it's like as soon as I decided this is not the energy that I want to live in anymore. And I had help from 12-step programs as well. And I've talked about that on the show that feeling very healthy. I feel tempted to say a recovered love addict, but we all know that that's never a thing because you're always working and you never know what could happen tomorrow. But I feel very healthy and happy, and then I also did a financial, 12-step program as well. Not all the way through, but I found that I think it's when you do focus on that mindset, suddenly and I was dubious, I was skeptical. I'm like, "So if I give it over to higher power, God,
Mhm.
whatever that is. And they said it could be a doorknob. It doesn't, as long as it's not you trying to control the boat. If you feel uncomfortable with the word God, call it something else. But just trust that there's something bigger than you and just like you said, the universe wants us to thrive. It's we who keep ourselves small. And I like the idea that there's that vibrational match that we need to also raise ourselves so we can meet the universe where it wants us to live. And one of my questions is that people have asked me, people who are a bit skeptical about manifestation and how it works have asked me, well, what about people that live, that are in war-torn countries and they're in Afghanistan or whatever, where it's like there's war and they're literally poor and there's violence. And I had an answer for that, but I want to hear what your answer is.
I think, yes, that's a common question. So I'm going to get into a realm that might be a little woo-woo-ish for maybe someone who's watching here, but I'm just going to go because that's like the way I perceive this to be. I think that we all have we all have lessons, and we all have come from a different life to explore this one, and I don't and we all have like a purpose and mission. And I think that a lot of times when people, when you hear like those stories of like a person just always going through hardships and like nothing goes right, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, and then like they're like, I'm cursed, I have no luck, and all these things, right? And you could do so many things. You could do the mindset work, but sometimes I think that we're here to learn. And I don't know if you believe in karma, Shannon, but I think sometimes it's like a mixture of like past life stuff plus like how you're reacting to it in this life, right? I understand though that it's very real when we see people struggling on the level that we see. It is so painful to see that. And I have a lot of women that follow me from third world countries that are asking me questions like they're not like, how can I manifest a shit ton of money? They're like, how can I manifest um health, like
Yes.
healthcare, or so I understand this is very real. And my answer is not like, well, your past life, no, I'm definitely not. But I think that it very much helps when your perspective and your outlook on what you're experiencing is of one that serves you, because at the moment when you're in a situation like so dire, so extreme, and you don't actually have control because your government is just shit, um then I think that the only thing we have left is our mind, the thoughts that we have with us, the stories we tell ourselves, right? We could be saying the story of my life is shit, that I'm gonna die, this is horrible, right? And that just feels horrible. It's not gonna change the outcome. Or you can say, I'm blessed, I'm here to help, I'm here to serve, I'm here to be the best that I can, things will get better. And you know, it's like, choose which one you want to tell yourself. Whether it changes the outcome drastically or not, one thing that it will change is how you feel, because it takes so much more energy to really be negative, and to it's draining as all heck, and it affects the people around you, and it's like just and this like domino effect energetically. So I think that we can yes, maybe we can't change what's happening in the world, as really, especially if you're in an extreme situation, but I think that it could affect how you feel, and that says a lot for wanting to even wake up out of bed.
I love that. And I actually agree with all of what you said. And sort of the way that I have answered that is it doesn't mean that we might not have the same. I guess what I'm saying is like someone in abundance, someone who's living in an abundant world. Like, okay, I live in Los Angeles. So, I mean, someone who's living in a city like Los Angeles where not everybody is abundant, but there's a lot of people who have money here. So, a lot are homeless, and then a lot are very, very wealthy. And for a wealthy person who's wealthy and thriving, they might be wanting to attract love, more abundant love. They might be more focused on, well, I'd like to have a house on the beach. And somebody who's in true poverty might say, I want to manifest just a bowl of rice today. I want to manifest, as you said, health. I want to manifest a miracle. And I also believe in karma. And to clarify for anyone who doesn't know this already or believe this, I'm not saying it's the truth, it's just my belief. Karma doesn't mean, oh, you did something bad. I think, and so you're getting what you deserve. We use it that way, but that's not what that means. Karma just means that it's a past life issue that we're returning here to keep working through. So, and I believe, and a lot of our viewers, I think, do, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of my guests definitely who've been to the other side, and mediums have said from what they've learned that yes, our soul does come here to learn lessons. And it seems in why would someone ever choose to be in abject poverty or be tortured or have something horrible?
Hmm.
To us, it's unfathomable because it is so incredibly painful. And on the other side, one of my guests, Peter Panagore, said it's like our time here is like God's wink or the wink of God, where it's so fast from their perspective that when they say, oh, I want to go and work this thing out so I can ascend spiritually, to them, it's like, oh, I'm just going to go down there for a second and suffer and then come back. To us, it's like 100 years of suffering. And so
Hmm.
and I know you're the same. We don't want to be insensitive and say, well, that's just your karma. So good luck with that.
Hmm.
It's not that. It's just, we have to understand that, yeah, it doesn't mean you can necessarily manifest. Someone in abject poverty may not manifest. I mean, I think hopefully they can, I think they have the opportunity in some cases. They may not be manifesting making $5 million a year and living on the beach and having a Ferrari, but they may not need that. All they're asking for is
Hmm.
freedom from this oppressive regime, or freedom to be a to be free. I mean, freedom to get an education or whatever. So I think
Hmm.
it's just all relative to the type of environment you're working in. It's much more
Yeah.
long-winded than I wanted as an interviewer, but that's than I wanted to be as an interviewer,
No,
but
I think I love how you put that. I couldn't agree more. Yes, for sure.
that's great. And then another question, I have is when you work with a client, obviously without giving away all your secrets, what is your approach in terms of what is it that you do? What service do you provide as a coach? What sorts of things do you work on with your clients?
So this work, anytime I talk to any potential client, I always say like this isn't fluffy work. It isn't. It's we're going so when I was saying we're uncovering stories, unhealthy stories, where do you think those stories come from? They come from places in us, deep within us, that most likely are painful, right? And so when I work with my clients, we go under, like I like to say, under the hood, and we uncover where this is coming from, because it's like going to the root of it and then healing it, honoring that place, right? We're not just going to look away and say, okay, cool, that's what it is. And like, let's nurture that space, because that was such a big part of you. And so the work is deep. And I'll give you an example of my own personal life. For for money, or yeah, for money for one, or just relationships with men. For me, I was like very independent, very pride, a lot of pride around my independence. I don't need a man type of deal. I could do this on my own. And that came from a place in my life where I watched my mother rely and depend on a man, to the point where it she sacrificed a lot, because that was the position she put herself in. And it really hurt her children, myself, my siblings. It traumatized us. And I remembered, and I guess on a subconscious level, it made me, what it did is it fueled me, where I thought I will never allow anyone to have that over me, right? Money. Um, and then also with the money story, because we were poor, it was that was something that was very scary for me. And I had beliefs about money that it was, you have to work really, really hard to make money and all these different. So as you can see, it's not as simple as, oh, okay, let's just like affirm and brainwash, the things that, you don't want to see. No, like, let's understand why. And that's the work that I do. We go and explore the places that potentially feel scary to even talk about, but we heal that. And we go from a place of not judging. We're not judging where it's coming from. We're honoring it. We're giving it so much light and love. And I give so much space to my clients to feel free, and we're flexible with how we approach this. There is no one blueprint. There is no one right or wrong way. We're all learning as we go, and the what may work for me may not work for you. So I really like to teach my clients how to discern ways that work for them, and how to heal, how to set really empowering routines and rituals, how to reprogram your limiting beliefs and energies and stories on a subconscious level.
Mm-hmm.
And really for the women, how to be unapologetic about setting big ass goals, because oftentimes women will just ask for enough, and that is not okay for me. It's something, that's been instilled in us. No one, as a kid, when someone said, what do you want for Christmas? The kid wasn't like, we weren't like, I just want enough. No, you were dreaming. You were like, let me get this, let me get that. I'll take that. I'll take 5 of those, 3 of these. You were just like dreaming it up. You weren't being hushed, right? When you were really, really young, before any grown up got to you about what you should or shouldn't do, who you should or shouldn't be, you were free to pick what you desired. Guilt free too, because kids have no shame and no guilt. And so as adults, I really love to challenge that and bring that out in the women that I work with, because when you choose something that excites you enough, you will fucking get out of bed. I don't know if you could curse, I'm sorry.
Totally fine.
It will fire you up to wake up and get out of bed and work towards it. And so I like to live from a very juicy, exciting place of inspiration, not desperation.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And then what role does meditation have? How does that change the way that our brain works? I guess, how do we rewire our brain to get out of that mentality, using meditation as not just a tool, but for me, it's not just a tool. It's like kind of so much. It's such a huge part that I don't want to call it just one little tool. It's such a big tool.
Yeah, it's a huge tool for me. It's been one of my greatest resources to ground me. And when I say, like, I meditate, right, and I encourage people to meditate, it's really just honestly, it's sometimes it boils down to just scheduling time with myself. I don't give a shit if I'm thinking about something else, like what am I going to do tomorrow? I don't care. It's I honored the time with myself, and I'm not judging it, and I don't care about if the meditation is perfect or not. It's honoring the time for myself. But here's what happens when I do this. When I sit down, I meditate twice a day, 20 minutes. And when I sit down and I do this, I focus on my breath, and that alone really just it relaxes me. It like it what is it? It like triggers the parasympathetic
Hmm.
system, right? And so I get immediate calmness, relaxing, and I'm like, oh, I'm not in fight or flight. I feel good. I feel stable. You're safe, Maria. Okay, cool. So from this state of me feeling safe, I relax, and then I come out of it, and then I make better decisions. I make very clear decisions. They come from because they don't come from a place of fear. So meditation for me has been instrumental in allowing me to not only live a successful life And I could define what that means in a second, but also to build a successful business for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I got really into Joe Dispenza for a little while. I don't know if if you. I mean, I know you're familiar with him, but if you've done his meditations, you can meditate on your own. I tend to do guided just because it helps me. I just kind of
Mhm.
need to hand someone else the reins to say,
Mhm.
"Okay, now just listen to me and you just relax."
Mhm.
But what's really interesting about his meditations is he sort of chants in this very it actually is quite creepy, but he does it what he does is he mixes up his cadence in a way that's unnatural so that the brain can't predict the next word that's coming. It just I've read his books, but it's kind of scientific in a way, to
Mhm.
a point where I'm not able to explain it very eloquently, but it sort of puts your brain into this zone where you are listening, but you're not anticipating, and it's putting you in touch with that part of yourself that's your intuition, but it's also a way of reprogramming your brain to get it's like anything. I mean, it's like for example, PTSD therapy, EMDR therapy and that sort of thing works to actually reroute the neurons because when we experience a trauma, our brains will go on a loop. And in fact, PTSD isn't actually a disorder, it's your brain protecting itself, for example. So these repetitive actions actually okay, let's think of the trauma up, let's reroute it, let's redirect it, let's redirect it. And it's just the same thing with meditation. And I know it works for me too. Getting out of that feeling of being an artist means I'm going to be poor. Um, I'll never be my parents were actually I had the opposite childhood where I had an intact family.
Mm.
My dad made great money. My mom was always involved in volunteering, and we had a beautiful home in Westport, Connecticut, which is Paul Newman lived down the street. It was like idyllic, and my parents get along to this day and love each other, and we had so much support. And yet, my money lack came from my parents had so much and were able to give so much that when I went into the real world, I was like, "But I don't wanna be a I don't wanna do what my dad did." So I told myself the story that if I don't work in corporate America, I'll never get
Mhm.
rich. And
Mhm.
I'll be a barista and a babysitter and a Lyft driver. Even though I'm very bright and creative and have so much to offer, I just couldn't find my place until I was, like, 40, where I was like, I
Mhm.
just can't seem to figure out so there was all this taking lower paying jobs and
Mhm.
just having the stability, but never thinking bigger. It's like, okay, $15 an hour. Okay, plus benefits, that'll be enough. That'll get me
Mhm.
through. And so
Mhm.
I do um so again, I just made a long story very long, but in meditating I can keep practicing. No, think bigger. I I make $1 million or more every year. Keep repeating it to yourself until your brain starts to believe it. That yes, I can be an artist and thrive and take beautiful vacations. It's so hard to reprogram, but it is possible.
Yeah. And Shannon, what I want to say is everything is just a story. Like you just said a story right now,
Yeah,
which was it's so hard to reprogram.
right.
It's a story.
Yep.
Go. If that listen, if that's what you believe, if that's what you want to believe, okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Now, is it gonna serve you to say that? No, right? And not
Mhm.
to put you on the spot, but we're
No,
always
it's a
doing it,
great
right?
example.
And
Yeah,
even like, yeah, and even like the idea that meditation is going to do XYZ for me, right? So if you go into anything with the belief that it's not going to work, then it's not going to work. If you
right.
go into anything with the belief that this is going to work and you're consistent with it, then you'll see some kind of a shift, like anything. So, yes, even though there's science behind meditation, and I'm a huge believer, at the end of the day, if the story you tell yourself going into anything is that this is not going to work for me, then it's not. And then here's what the problem with that there's so much science behind it that what happens is you're like, something must be wrong with me,
Mhm.
because this is scientific fact and millions of people talk about it, but yet it doesn't work for me. What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. You just subscribe to a belief that it's not going to work for you. So it's not going to work for you. You see, but people don't think that way. They don't
Right.
think that the thought about the thing and the idea that they subscribe to, and sometimes they're not even doing it like when they come across a thing, when they decide, it's already been decided for them on a subconscious level when they were younger, because maybe someone somewhere said meditation is shit. That's crazy. That's just what are you, a nut job? So on a subconscious level, so you don't even realize, which is why the work that I do is we start with bringing awareness to these like many thoughts that you don't even realize you're walking around with. But yet, when things don't work out, you create yet another story saying, I can't do this because it's not going to work for me. I've tried so many things, it doesn't work for me. Well, have you tried reprogramming your beliefs around the very things you're trying? Have you tried aligning your thoughts, really getting so laser focused? Or have you tried monitoring your thoughts, seeing the connection between the very things you want, the very things you've tried that haven't worked, and like what they are? But this is not how we approach things, right? We approach, especially as consumers, we are being sold a solution. However, if our ideas and beliefs about that solution do not align, then that solution is not going to work for us. But then we make other stories up and more stories, and then they just like layer.
That makes so much sense, and it also shows how when you, put your attention on something, you can't, solve what you don't acknowledge. One of my guests said that, and I've not exactly those words, but sh first you have to acknowledge. And the thing is, when you just said to me, you just said, "It's hard." I didn't even realize I'd said that. It's something that came out that I didn't even
Hmm.
realize was a story, so that shows too the kind of job that you do with people is pointing out where people see that's one little subtle thing that you don't even realize that you're doing or that you're saying to yourself that wow, it's hard to reprogram a brain after all this lifetime. Well, then it's
Hmm.
going to be hard instead of saying
Yes.
why can't I shift my mindset today. um, and so I love that, and I have another question that I've seen people ask. I'm in a manifestation group, and there was a woman in there who was posting that she had been scammed for 60, I think her life savings, whatever, thousands of dollars. And she's married and has children. And she lost everything. And she said, I have nothing left. And so she's trying this manifesting furiously, like, well, how's that? And we had talked a bit and she reached out to me and I said, well, part of it is if you're already in this frantic mindset, which is understandable. It's extremely
Hmm.
stressful. You're raising, I think, a child, and um, I can understand where it's hard to breathe when you're like, literally, I lost everything and we're about to get
Hmm.
evicted and everything's falling apart. I said the problem is that even when you're manifesting, you're frantically manifesting.
Hmm.
So I would ask you, because I'm not a manifesting coach, I said this would be my assumption is that you're still so in the fear. So when you're manifesting, you're giving off this energy of fear. Well, how do you manifest when you are in fear, panic, and anxiety, which is just a human response? And so
Hmm.
you can try to meditate and calm yourself down. But how do you truly manifest when you are in, we need this money, we need $65,000
Hmm.
by in 3 weeks? How are we going to do this?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how she's not going to do it. She's not going to do it by continuing to operate from that space.
Yep.
She's just not. So you're right. You're 100% right. Um and I think that the thoughts that she the thoughts affect her behavior. Her behavior is going to affect how she shows up. How she shows up will affect the results she has in her life. Also, positive opportunities, abundant opportunities, and people are not going to want to be around her if
Right.
she's in that state. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's just a space that we're just positive, high vibe, abundant opportunities are not gonna even be in her vicinity. And so okay, one would say, well, what do you expect her to be? Freaking happy go lucky over here? She just got robbed, right? So no, I don't expect that. However, what can she control? I would go into like, okay, what can I control? What things can I control? I can control how I'm showing up. I can, and here is where self-discipline is extremely important. Focus and discipline is so important here, because to ask someone that's just been through this kind of experience, one that's traumatic, right? You've like lost hope in humanity, and I forget it. You're just, and when financially you are in a screwed up place, that can really mess with you, right? It's like taking, it's like the carpet has just, the rug has been pulled under you, and if there are kids involved, then I can imagine, right? All sorts of things are going on in your mind, but she has two choices. She could continue to recycle the scary thoughts and beliefs, which are going to just ignite behavior that's not going to be helpful, probably ignite and trigger her, and to some vices, to some behavior that is not going to move the needle to get her to where she wants to be, or out of that situation at least, right? Or she has the path of, well, what can I do? Okay, well, let me regroup. Let me start to do things that are going to be helpful for me. Let me start to I don't know what her life is, so this is very general, so I know people maybe listening might say, well, she has kids, she doesn't have time to do XYZ. But I would start to do things like, I would start to meditate. I would start to, this is going to sound crazy, I know she just got robbed, but start to exercise. Get your mind right, get your get yourself in like these high vibe things, in a high vibe space that has nothing to do with what you want to happen.
Right.
Nothing. Like, and someone would say, what are you talking about? She needs money. How's she going to
Yeah.
get money if she is work? You're putting her to work out?
Right.
No, no. What I'm saying is that she should do things that are going to put her in alignment with the energy that would only match what she wants in her life. So 5 minutes of movement, right? There's so much science behind movement, right? So 5 minutes, 5 minutes of movement. Okay, start moving in the morning. Great. As soon as you wake up, get some movement, get some meditation,
Yeah.
right? Start your affirmations. Start in this like high vibe state, even though the reality is not what you want it to be right
Yeah.
now. You have to start planting those seeds, because the thing is, everything in your reality right now, it's just a seed you planted back then, before you knew what the heck was going on, what you were saying, before you even knew that your thoughts were really going to create so much of what you're living. And so for her, if she does have the awareness around her thoughts, what she's thinking, the energy and the vibration of it all, I would just completely not entertain what I like to call the shit show path, because that
Mhm.
path does not serve you. It's not going to put you in or around opportunities or people that are willing to help. That's just the truth.
Right. And I love that idea of physicalizing it. If you can't get yourself there, whatever it is, if you're physically able, get your endorphins up, do yoga or whatever your thing is
Yeah.
that lifts you up and puts you. It's weird. I don't know what's happening with Zoom. Um, but I think that's such a great idea. Is it's hard to psych ourselves up when we're in that state, or to
Mm-hmm.
feel, you know, oh, I'm feeling so positive right now, when really you're just lying. So it's okay to
Mm-hmm.
be authentic and say, "Hey, I'm in a lot
Yes.
of, I'm really struggling here, and I am afraid because this is scary. But what can I do to raise, if nothing else, raise your vibration? Do something
Mm-hmm.
for someone else. Talk
Yep.
to a loved one, self-care, all of those things. Take a bath. Even if you can't afford a spa day, just then do something for yourself and I kind of told her that. I said, maybe don't worry about the manifesting right this minute. Sorry for this. The YouTube watchers, this Zoom thing keeps bumping out the video. Um, but the thing is that I said, maybe first therapy. I even said, you might want to start talking to a therapist first,
Mm.
because process your feelings, because it's going to be too hard to manifest if you're in a panic and you're in desperation. And I said,
Yeah.
there's always a solution somehow, and so, but you're not going to know what it is today. So I
Yeah.
really, I think your advice was so beautiful. If you can think of one or two story anecdotes about the way that manifesting has either changed your life or one of your clients' lives in a way that was remarkable.
Sure. So you want to know like a manifestation story?
Yeah, manifestation
Okay.
story. Uh-huh. A success story.
Yeah. So I actually just had one of my clients, Lisa, on because when we first started working together, she was very new to the manifestation stuff and she was just curious about it. So we started and she had a side hustle, right? A little side hustle, a little event planning company. And it wasn't even a company. It was like a passion. And she never thought it would even be a real thing. She's a mom of two, a lot of responsibilities, worked for corporate. And her, like, I actually got her to admit what her actual dream was. And it was to not work for corporate. It was to have location freedom, financial freedom, and to be able to have her business generate more than what she was making at her corporate world. But she did not come from a family that perceived life to be this way and work this
Yeah.
way. And so I just spoke to her. We worked together for about 2 months. And I kid you not, she's booked out until the end of the year. And we started working. I'll just tell you, like, I'll give you a time frame. We started working last November and she's now booked out. So she doesn't have a job. She has her business and she's booked out until the end of the year. And her hubby takes her business very serious these days because it is generating a very nice amount of money. And it was really beautiful to watch her do the work and manifest such a big goal for her that she really desired.
That is so inspiring and good for her. And good for
Hmm.
you too, because I'm sure it feels good to watch your clients thriving. That's why you do this work. I know that
Yes.
I love the kind of work that you do because not only does it create abundance for you, it creates abundance for them. And so it's a win-win. Everyone's getting, good value. And so I think that's beautiful. You're both eh, sort of reaching towards being service centered and soul centered. And I think that's great because you actually get to be invested in your clients' lives and watch them thrive. And that must be your favorite part of the job, I would assume.
Yes. You nailed it. It
Yeah.
100% is. It's a total win-win. I said to my partner, when I started doing this work, I said, I feel really selfish. He said, why? I said, because it feels so good to watch them win. And like,
Yeah.
I just get so much, like, I can't even explain. I get so happy to watch them win. It's like, and he's like, well, if that's the worst you got in you, then we'll take it.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Is there anything in your own life where you started to see it working for you?
Yes.
Yeah. What stands out for you?
Yes. Absolutely. And this one, I actually, I like to talk about this one because I have two. So I'll say one that's like,
Yeah.
I'll give like a one that's expected, and then I'll give one that is probably not that expected. So, a big, big, big thing that people come to me for is like they want to manifest love, the love of their life. They want their partner, right? Their
Yeah.
dream partner. And for me, I manifested my love in in a way that wasn't like I started from scratch and I manifested this love and now it's like a great love. No, I manifested my partner. We've been together for we'll make 10 years in August. And I manifested him. However, the relationship was not what it is today. It was always a beautiful relationship, but nah, it wasn't what it is today. And so for anyone that's in like a relationship already, like I think a lot of the times, and I say this because this was me, I think a lot of the times when you're in a relationship and like, all the boxes aren't checked, you're like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna make it. I don't know if he's like for me or she's for me or whatever. I need to go find someone else. I need to manifest and attract someone else in my life, right? But here's the thing, I thought I had to do that. However, even if you're in a long-term relationship where you're in a relationship, you don't always like you can manifest and attract a juicy relationship within the one you already have. Like you can
Mm,
strengthen what you have. And Jeff and I were, oh my gosh, so different, in a lot of ways. And I just didn't think it was going to work. And I definitely manifested, and I believe he also manifested us to be who we are today. I just, so much more happier and fulfilled with who we've become. And so I think that I believe we can manifest even when we're in relationships to strengthen these relationships, right? And so I've manifested the love of my life. And also I've manifested my business, a soul and bank filling business. And that was something, look, I didn't, you had asked me before, how did you get into this work? Uh, to be honest, I really thought I was going to be like this famous actress.
Mhm.
I was an actress since I was a child, and I thought that that's how I would get my purpose and mission and word out. And the universe just had a different plan for me. And so I was
Yeah.
sort of unofficially coaching people for a really long time. And it started to become more real, and people started to approach me to like hire me. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So it just happened that way. And then it just grew, it just took off. And I know, I'm sure you probably know, but like with the business online, especially, there's so many elements involved. There's marketing, there's like,
Mhm.
you know, client acquisition, there is branding, there is just so many elements that play a major part here. And I was fortunate enough to just attract all these different key elements and have them really play a major part in my business and the person that I've become and my brand.
I relate in that I set out to be a voice actor, and just as soon as I started to really thrive as a voice actor and live that dream, I lost my voice and developed a
Mm,
vocal disorder like 3 years into it after working my butt off
mm,
and sacrificing, like I say that because I think the story was that I needed to sacrifice for it,
mhm,
and, I did air quotes for those of you listening to the podcast, and, um, it's interesting because, yes, while what I'm doing now isn't making me money, I feel that it's more of my purpose. It doesn't mean that I don't still love voiceover and I do it whenever I can, but I feel more fulfilled and more on my soul's path,
mhm,
um, kind of learning the art of mediumship, sitting with people one on one, being able to provide evidence that their loved ones are still present even though they've passed on, and I'm still learning, so I don't charge yet, but I feel more fulfilled. I actually work more hours on this channel, this podcast, and on practicing mediumship. I'm busy doing it all the time because it's my
mm,
real I mean, voiceover is my passion, but I'm seeing
mhm,
now that I am sort of not being directed away from, but being directed towards something that's more, hey, this is your soul's purpose. Acting is fun
mhm,
and you're of service in that area because you're good at it and you know how to tell a story in a way that's relatable. But it's funny how the universe does push us towards, yes, but you've got this other gift, which is connecting with people. And in your case, inspiring people. And I've listened to your meditations and the way that you speak. It's so relatable and calm. So you give these pep talks without being like crazy, you can do it. It's like this very, hey, girl, let's talk. You have a way of making people feel very comfortable and at ease in a way that makes them feel like, oh, this is doable. She's a real person. This isn't some person promising
mhm,
me the world. It's just saying, hey, look at your own potential and let's delve into it and let's get you there. So I'm so grateful that you came because this is a topic I'm passionate about, but I wanted to address it and I specifically asked you because I really loved just I found you on Instagram of all places, and I just loved your approach and your warmth, and felt you had a really important message. But also, I'd love for people to be aware of your services because I think that it's clear that the people who work with you really, really get a lot out of working with you. And so, I would like you to tell us what your website is, even though I will be linking it below. And any
Thank
other
you.
things you wanna plug if you have, whatever you
Thank
wanna plug, this is your forum.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shannon. This was such a cool conversation. You can find me, well, I really hang out on Instagram a lot.
Mhm.
I just give a ton of resources, and I just like to chill on Instagram, which is Manifesting Ninja. And the website where I have a lot of free resources on the website as well, is just www.manifestingninja.com. And yeah, that's kind of where you can find me. As far as work with me, I have something called the Manifesting Ninja Academy, and that's the doors just closed yesterday, but I open them every so often. And I work with, I'm very selective with the one-on-one clients because of my time, and it's
Yeah.
something that takes a lot of energy. So I do work with, I do have one-on-one coaching that I offer, and I speak as well and do workshops. I like the speaking. The speaking is fun. So yeah, and I do like private workshops as well. So it's definitely very, yeah, very fun and fulfilling. And like you said, watching others win. I don't like I've created my business and my brand and my mission where you don't even have to spend a dollar, really a dime. Like if I were me like 10 years ago, I was broke because I was broke, I would just binge watch and read all of my stuff, because I've literally created, and people don't even know this. You don't realize it because you have the idea that, you know, you got to work so hard, you got to read all these books and do take all these courses. No, you really like no. But if I were me, I would literally go through everything all the content, I would just like soak it up and put it into action. And and I've had so many women, and I love, I'm proud of this. I've had so many women that have not paid a dollar for any of my stuff and send me the most amazing testimonials, because
Aw.
they're like, I did your 5-day manifesting challenge. It changed my life. My business is blossoming. I found a lot. I got married. Like, forget it. It's like, and that to me is so beautiful, because when I started, I was just struggling so much. I didn't have the money to do any of this. And I remember when I did my first course, I paid for my first course, and that person offered payment plans. And I thought, I didn't even think I was going to be a coach. I didn't know, but I thought if I ever sell anything, I'm going to make it so affordable. I'm going to make sure that there's options. And, so it's really important for me, my mission for it to be available for anybody on like in any walk of life.
That's wonderful because, it's with abundance in general and having gone through a program for money, uh, under earner issues and false beliefs about, money. One of the things I, learned is A, value yourself more, which your time and energy is worth a lot more than you think. And so
Mm,
it's then you also want to be able to make your services affordable because you're
mhm.
doing it to be of service. So it's nice when you can find that middle ground that works for you and for the
Yeah.
client. Because it is important, your time and energy, and it's not just your time and energy, it's your expertise. It's what you
Mhm.
trained. I mean, people will say, well, can you just do this voiceover job for $100? I could, but then I devalue the entire industry and I devalue the
Mhm.
like 15 years of studying that I
Mhm.
the building this whole studio. It's knowing how to give a natural read. It's your expertise and your research. Just like a doctor, it's not they didn't just know how to do open heart surgery. So that's what you're paying for. But I think it's
Mhm.
lovely that you also keep your clients' needs in mind. And the other thing is that it's very common for us to think, well, if I'm doing well, I feel guilty because there are people who are impoverished and people who are living on the streets. Who am I to be earning money? There's that weird guilt that comes along with that, I think. And so um, that's what we learn is that just because you're in abundance doesn't take away from somebody else. It actually puts the energy out there and creates more abundance. So you're being of service and it's an exchange of energy and it does allow them to thrive. So I think it's really important for us to remember. that, yeah, just because we are earning, we don't have to feel guilty about thriving just because there are people who aren't.
Yeah.
When we're
Yeah.
thriving, everyone thrives.
Yeah. And the best way I could put this is, you know what? There are a lot of people making a lot of money. And I think that when good people make good money, they do great things.
Yes.
And I don't apologize for my what I like to call my high ticket offers. I have very high ticket offers that are like 15 grand and up.
Mhm.
And I never apologize because there's a
Good.
market for it. And I know that those women are willing and they're available to invest that kind of money, right? But then I also have like a different option for someone who's in a different place in life. And it's not to say that which is, you know what, it's amazing. Life is so beautiful. My one of my clients, she invested in my academy, and that is I'll just like throw out numbers here just so you could
Yeah.
know. Like, let's just get to it, right? So it's the academy is like, let's say like a 2 grand investment. And she was like nervous as all heck. She put herself on a payment plan, and she went from that to a year later investing in a mastermind, which is 15 grand and up, because, well, she was able to do that because of the work we've done. And
Wow.
it's incredible because, you just never know where you can be in a year, right? She would have never
Right.
imagined, she would have never imagined when she said yes to that first opportunity in the academy, that she would be a year later investing
Right.
in this opportunity in Turks and Caicos, because we're doing a mastermind retreat in Turks and Caicos,
Oh,
and the
cool.
6 month mastermind. So like, it's just, life is so beautiful when you really show up, do the work, and allow yourself to receive all the opportunities, because they are out there. They're out there. It's yours for the taking.
That is a beautiful place to end, and I just wanna thank you again for taking your time and energy to share with us today, and I am excited to watch you continue to thrive and to watch your clients thrive. Again, I will post the links below, but for now, I just wish you well, and thank you so much for bearing with these technical issues, but also for just sharing your wisdom, knowledge, insight, and you just exude such a beautiful warmth that I know, has to be, um it's one of your greatest assets is being such a sweet, kind, relatable person, and I think that you really do what you do with so much love. So thank you again, Maria.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate you. And technical stuff, it happens,
It
you
does. You
know?
just have to ride the wave.
Yeah, we're here. We can do this. How fortunate are we?